Welcome to another episode of Life in Focus. I'm your host, Ben Tate, and today I'm joined by one of my closest friends, my brother, one of the most successful people I know, Fred Porter. Welcome to the podcast, bro.
What's going on, man?
Finally.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. Long time.
Dude, so happy that you're here. Made it safe and sound. Let's just get right into it. When are you moving back to Florida?
Oh man, so I've been in New York now for the last going on 4 years. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about like some more of the stuff that's kind of went down, but I want to say I wanted to move back like the first week of me moving. It's just so different, man. There's some some serious talks about me and the family moving back down. I'm from here, so it would be easy just if it was just me to pack up and leave. But I gotta convince some other folks. Gotta convince the family. But soon, man, I really envision myself and my family like being here and me raising my daughter here. Mm-hmm. I can like really see that. It's not like a question mark or anything. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of making sure that the pieces align the way that we need them to, so that when we get down here, it's not like we're trying to pick up pieces, but it's like we got everything that we need here, and everything will fall into place.
That's awesome, man. Well, one thing too about this podcast, the goal was to have everyone that's on it on like once a year type thing, so we can kind of grow with their journey. And a lot of the guests have kids as well, or children, and they'll see what dad was thinking in his 30s or 40s or whatever the case may be, which is kind of cool to think about. But I say all that to say, we're gonna talk a little bit about it. Your move up to New York. Obviously, New York is a city that a lot of people want to visit, and some people envision living there, don't understand what the logistics are behind that. So I say all that to say, when you move back down, obviously that'll be a cool episode too, to see how you finally made it. But what brought you up to New York in regards to, like, from a career standpoint? What were you doing? Yeah,
so right out of COVID, it was summer of 2021. Mm-hmm. At the time, my partner, my ex-partner, she got an opportunity to go to New York for a job, and kind of. It was just me just following her, to be honest with you. She got a really great opportunity, and I followed, and very shortly after realized that New York is a different place. Like you said, like logistics and transportation and just like lifestyle, very different from a Florida boy for me. So, and now like what's keeping me there is my partner currently and my 9-month-old daughter. It's been a lot of transition over the past year and a half. After settling in, after moving. So, that's kind of what's keeping me there now. Mm-hmm. But again, just trying to put the pieces into place to make a move.
Sure. So for people that don't know, you've been in the education field for quite a long time, over a decade. When did you first get into it? Like 2016, was it? 15?
2015.
2015, okay.
2015.
And you worked both public schools, private schools, nonprofit technically.
Yeah, man. So I've been all over. So I started as a sub for a charter school. Went on to be, get my certification. Then went on to be an athletic director, a coach, and then moved into the nonprofit field before I moved to New York. So I wasn't in the classroom, but the nonprofit itself was an educational nonprofit. So I was still working with closely with kids and with families. So yeah, man, I've been all over, and now. When I moved up to New York, I went back to the classroom for 2 years, and now I'm an assistant principal in the school that I went up there to. So it's been a great journey over the last 12 years now in education.
Wow, that's amazing, dude. Doing some good work too. What would you say was like the biggest difference between the education system down here and up there?
Ooh.
Do you think that it's like the school board? Do you think it's the children? Do you think it's like are the parents? Is it a little bit of everything? What stood out to you the most?
I think it's a little bit of it's obviously a little bit of everything. Everywhere you go, it's going to be different. But I think the biggest thing that stood out to me was the difference in how students carry themselves outside of school. Mm-hmm. One of the major things that I was used to in Florida, most of these schools were neighborhood schools. You can get on a bus. Parents can drop you off. Mm-hmm. That lifestyle is very different in New York. There's not a lot of families that own cars just because of public transportation. So at the end of the school day, seeing kids from elementary school to middle school walking home, in East Harlem, sometimes I might stay late it's dark. I walk out, they're just hanging out on the street, kind of, you know. So the lifestyle for sure was different. Just seeing a lot of kids like have to handle certain like grown up like responsibilities or would be grown up responsibilities in a different place at an early age was like a mind blow for me. It was crazy.
Yeah, that is different, especially down here. I mean, many places kids are coddled. I mean, even more now so than maybe even when we were. You know what I'm saying? So
absolutely
can't even imagine that. So let's talk about affordability. That's the number one thing that people talk about. But it's becoming expensive everywhere, right? Even Florida, people are saying, hey, like the rising cost, especially on the home ownership side of things, but rents are high and you're renting, you're paying a lot for little sometimes. So what was the biggest, I mean, a lot of people have roommates when they first go up there, right? So whether it's a significant other or just a few friends. So like, how did you navigate that initially? Yeah,
so that's kind of what I was thinking about going up there. Obviously, like I said, I went up with my ex-partner, but you know, what you had was a lot of times very small space. And for a lot of people that go up, especially at the age that I moved up there, a lot of them expect to be with a roommate or a significant other, like you mentioned. I've had the experience of both, which was different from, you know, what I was used to down here in Miami. I'd say a lot of people that live in New York, especially inside the city itself, a lot of people use their home as just a place to sleep. You know, and that's kind of like how they look at it, coming from, you know, me down here, like my home is my place of peace. Like I like to do a lot of things in my home while also doing a lot of things outside. And that was really different moving up there. When you talk about affordability, dang, it kind of just really depends on what your situation is. A lot of people look at like some of the minimum salaries for like educators, and I just speak this just because that's my realm. But you know, educators are paid a lot more in New York, and that's just because of the cost of living. But a lot of people don't think about what your take home actually is going to be
post tax. You're saying
post tax, You know, if you live in New York, you're getting taxed federal, you're getting taxed state, you're getting taxed city. And that's not a lot of things. Like people don't really think about that going in. You know, I went up there, got a pretty decent, you know, increase in my salary, and then I looked at my take home and it wasn't that much different. So it really depends on where you are in your life. It depends on where you're living. You know, a lot of people commute into New York that live in maybe like Jersey or something, so they don't get that tax. So it depends on what your factors are. I would say for me in the situation I'm in now, it's a little more affordable, just because I live with my partner. I think if we moved back down to Florida and wanted like what we wanted, it would probably be more affordable based off of, you know, whatever factors that we have. But it's a toss up, man. There's a lot of factors that go into it. It's not just like salary and rent.
Salary, rent, you got tax offsetting some of the additional salary.
Parking, tolls, insurance. If you have a car, like all of those things get played into it, and if you don't think about those things before that big type of move, it really like hits you like a freight train. But you figure it out.
Well, it's interesting. In my experience, like in those big cities, is you can't wait every day you wake up, whether you're visiting or living there. The first thing you have to think about is transportation. But in Florida, you can be like, oh, I'll just walk today. I'll take the bus. I'm not going anywhere today. I'm working from home. It's not really a thing there. So just to give people some additional perspective on the transportation, what, like, you know, don't you have like a card that you can get? Like what's like that breakdown of even making it like that?
So one of the cool things about New York City is how interconnected everything is with public transportation. You do not need a car in New York. I sold my car when I went up there, and I'm able to get to whatever street corner, whatever street, whatever like area that I need to get by train. And so it's a card. They're actually transitioning to like digital stuff now, but it's a card. You can fill it up with enough credits that you need, or you can do like unlimited for a week or for a month or whatever. If you're doing public transportation, buses, subways are really how folks get around if they don't have a car. But yeah, I love public transportation. I like when I lived in Miami, it's not as like robust as New York, but I use public transportation when I didn't have to drive my car. So I really enjoy it. It's necessary.
What about grocery shopping or something? You going on the
so
subway
lucky for me, my partner has a car. So we have a car. We
But when you first moved there,
But when I first moved there, groceries were, I got lucky enough to live next to a grocery store. Okay. So I had a grocery store across the street. I had a laundromat because we didn't have a washer dryer in the apartment. I had a laundromat right downstairs. So like if I'm walking in I lived right next to where I worked when I first moved there.
Okay, there you go.
6 or 7 blocks. So if I need to drop off laundry, I'll drop it downstairs. If I need to pick up groceries on the way home, I'll do that. If you're not that close, a lot of times people have the carts.
Yeah.
But in the winter months,
you can't be pushing them.
You can't be pushing no carts in the snow. That's when like Uber Eats and
DoorDash, grocery delivery, whatever.
Like whatever grocery delivery that you want.
They're taxing on that, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, it's a lot, man. Yeah. That's also another factor. Food, like,
is food more expensive up there? Would you say like just like general food, like milk, eggs, bread? Yeah. Okay.
100%.
So everything's a little bit more expensive.
Everything.
They're gonna argue the convenience factor.
And that's I'm not even just speaking because I live in Queens, right outside of the city. But I'm not even just speaking about the city itself. Like Queens, Brooklyn,
everywhere up there.
The Bronx, like everywhere is just more expensive.
So knowing what you know now, what's like the top? Like if you had to give 3 pieces of advice to somebody that wants to move up there, what's like the 3 priority things that you should be advising? Is it to make sure you move up with a X amount of savings? Is it to make sure that you lower your pride before you cross the state line and roommate with somebody? Or like, you know, a lot of people, so this is my take on it too. I think that New York can be a city for different parts of your life, right? I think if you're going up there college age or shortly after college age, it's a little bit different. You're getting your feet wet in professional life. Your obligations are lower, limited, right? I think as you get older, I think you potentially are like putting yourself behind the 8 ball because of how expensive it is. At the end of the day, if you're fast forwarding to our parents' age that want to retire, all they're figuring out is how low can I get my fixed expenses so I know how early I can retire with the savings I have, right? So it's no different than us right now. So that's why people that, and two, people I know up there, they phase out by 30 a lot of times. They're like, hey, man, I got to get out of here, take the opportunity or what I've learned and apply it somewhere else type thing. So mainly for people that are, say, between 25 and 35, that might say, hey, I want to move to the big city, whether it's a bucket list thing, I've always wanted to do it, or I think I'm going to have a good opportunity. Do I need to have X amount of savings? Do I need to make sure, like, what's something that people probably aren't thinking about before it's too late? Or just a couple if you don't have 3.
I think the first thing that jumps to mind is making sure that you have some type of money management system that works for you. For me, before I went up there, I always budgeted. So I have my spreadsheet. I have a spreadsheet that has tabs that go all the way back to 2020. It's a new tab for every time I get paid. And I always make sure I know what my expenses are for the next 2 weeks. And go, and apply the money to wherever I needed to apply whatever I have left. And just like not wavering from that. When I moved to New York, I noticed that I had to be more on top of my finances. Like I had to. When I went up there, I incurred a lot of debt. And luckily for me, like I figured it out.
Was that debt just figuring out your efficiencies or just a combination of moving costs and getting settled?
A lot of it was moving costs. I think it cost between $3,000 to $5,000 just to move.
Because you got to hire movers.
You got to hire movers. You got to the truck itself, like getting it from Florida to New York. That was a lot, and I really didn't expect that.
Right.
And and the other thing, just for context, like I said, my ex-partner, she got the call about an opportunity. She got that call, I would say, she got that call like the first week of July.
Okay.
We were in our apartment in New York the first week of August.
Okay, that's super quick.
So we moved in literally 30 days.
Yeah.
And like for me, somebody who like needs like I need structure, I need to know what's happening.
I gotta start a new tab.
I need to take at least 2 to 3 business days to figure things out. It was really quick, and we did the best of what we could. But like money management system, 100%.
Okay.
And if you're moving with a partner, not just a roommate, making sure that y'all have like the same money management system because obviously like a lot of bills are gonna be shared. I think the other thing I would say is like if you're moving to somewhere like New York, right? gotta have a 5-year like plan. Like, what's your plan?
Why are you here?
Why are you
what do
here?
You want to do while you're here?
Exactly. You know, I obviously went individual. I went to, you know, support my partner at the time. But yeah, if you're moving there, whether it's by yourself or with somebody, right? If you're going there to like jumpstart your career, like have a plan for after 5 years. Because like you mentioned, some people do phase out, but some people get stuck.
They get stuck there, yeah.
Yeah, and they get stuck and they're living check to check, and it's like, oh, like, is this the life that I really want to live?
Yeah.
And then by the time, you know, that 5 years is up and you're tired and you're ready to go, you can't. Oh shoot,
you can't. You can't leave.
You can't leave. You know, by the time, you know, that time is up, you can't leave. So I would say, like, definitely having a 5-year plan. I do believe that, like, I had a 5-year plan going there. Like, my 5-year plan was to not be there in 5 years. And we're going on 4.
Yeah.
So, like, you know,
Yeah.
I still got some time, but yeah, having a plan that when you go up there.
I think that's good because I think like sometimes like the inspiration of New York is just that it's the inspiration of it, right? And it's maybe not the reality of it. And people, and the thing is too, and again, I think there's opportunity up there. I don't like to like always like crap on New York, you know what I'm saying? But the reason why sometimes I have some ill feelings towards it is because I can look out in Florida and other places where people are by every metric as average as can come, but are living maybe above average lives, you know? And, you know, I'll ask you this question. How many people do you know that aren't like over the age of 40 that own property there?
Not a lot.
Right?
Now I think about it, I'm trying to think. I know a couple people that do own property and they are younger than
40.
But I will say, I'm thinking about like my circle.
Sure.
Up in New York, it's not a lot.
Yeah.
And that has to do a lot of it like with the lifestyle, and it's expensive.
Yeah, it's I mean, for the prices you have to pay to own property up there, nobody would be owning property down here. Yeah. So it's not that they're not making enough money or anything. It's just not priced to be purchased.
Yeah. And you also got to think about like some of the things that I think about. You know, I saw a meme the other day. It was like me looking at what's the app? Zillow, yeah. Looking at Zillow with $0 in my account and saying, "Oh no, we can't have brown cabinets" or something like that. When you think about buying property in New York, you have to understand the building structures that are in New York. There's not a lot of options. There's not a lot of options for like construction. Like everything is built up. You know, everything is already built up, and if it's something new, it's going up. Right. So it's not like a single family household. So a lot of times, if you want that lifestyle, if you want to be able to have the front yard or the backyard,
gotta go outside the city.
You have to go outside the city. You have to go far outside the city.
Now you have to have a car.
And now you have to have a car
to get
to the train station.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot, you know. So, you know, me and my partner, we've been looking at options, you know, in New York. She's from there.
Yeah.
And if there's an opportunity to stay, you know, we'd stay.
Yeah.
But it's just not a lot. It's just not a lot of options. And then again, with my experience, having the front yard, having the backyard, and knowing that like a small 2-bedroom house that was built hundreds of years ago with one bathroom that's the size of this, going for $750,000 just because it's closer to the city.
Right.
You know, coming down somewhere like Florida and getting that, I can get a lot more for.
You get everything.
Get everything. You know, you can get everything you want. So, for people that are interested in buying property in New York, it's really tough.
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult to do that.
Yeah. Has your social circle changed or evolved?
Oh man, it has, man. One of the things that is really drawing me to want to come back, right? Like all my family is down south. That's the one thing that I noticed. I'm very far from family. Now that, you know, we have the baby, definitely want her to spend as much time with grandpa and her aunt and uncle and her great grandparents and all that stuff. Just because that's what I experienced when I was a kid. So I think that's really important. But my social circle, man, I wouldn't say it's changed.
Yeah.
I do have a circle in New York.
Sure.
A lot of them happen to be my coworkers, which has been like a blessing, man. Like I would say I think the reason why I didn't come back so quickly,
because you had a decent
because I had a decent social circle. I had, you know, people that look like me in the same field, just as like competent, educators. They're
mission driven,
freaking amazing educators, and they're all in different sectors.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And now like those are my dogs.
Yeah.
Like those are like my dogs.
Yeah.
They get me through a lot of days. So and they taught me a lot. Excuse me. They taught me a lot about what it means to like live in New York.
Yeah.
Like,
it's important. I mean,
like
you're
mindset.
You're probably doing it the right way.
Yeah,
you
like
have that support
like
system.
mindset, and I also think they gave me a lot of perspective on like how people show up that are from New York. I've gotten a lot of like insight on like, I remember one morning, it was one of the first few months that I was there. I was telling my boy Drew, I was like, yo, Drew, man, I said good morning to this dude on the train, and he just looked at me like, what's up with y'all?
Yeah.
He was like, why would you say good morning? I'm like,
that's a good morning.
Why wouldn't I say good morning?
Yeah.
He's like, nah, man, it's 7:00. He's probably trying to get to work. He doesn't need like New York is so fast. People have so many different things to do.
Yeah.
They're not thinking about stopping and saying good morning.
Yeah.
And now if we're from Florida, that's considered ill-mannered.
Yeah, if you don't say anything
if
back.
you don't say something
At least
back.
like nod or smirk or something.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's given me a lot of insight. My circle up in New York, they've given me a lot of insight on how to kind of navigate, and they made it a lot easier for me.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like the family, I think every couple is going to always like fight the family battle when it comes to holidays and it comes to location of where we're going to live.
Yeah.
And I think that the only way you can make a fair decision is to take family out of it from both sides. We can't stay in one place because of family. We can't go to another place because of family.
True.
So let's take them both out. Let's have an apples to apples conversation, and let's both create some pros and cons of each location we're thinking about. And whatever whatever is net positive the most, that's where we go.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? And
Facts.
so I think that's the only way, because you're never going to be able to convince somebody to leave family to go to family or vice versa, because it's just family versus family, and it's
too
like
hard.
It's a lose-lose situation.
It's hard.
It's
hard.
I think that the silver lining in your situation, not to be biased, is that you've lived in both places now where the other person maybe hasn't. And so until they have, it's like they don't have a complete perception of what it could be.
Right.
And it's tough to do that visiting, because when you visit, you only go to the places you visited to.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And it's you would have to come down here and get an Airbnb or whatever for like a month or two in different like areas, maybe even a month in different cities, like a month in Tampa,
Facts.
a month in Sarasota, or wherever the case
Facts,
is, just to like see where you wanted to be.
I agree.
And then you could say, hey, like we took a real stab at this. I don't like this. I do like this. Like, man, I could walk to the park and there's like 50 other kids, that are under 2. And it's like crazy,
Facts.
It's like it's fenced in, it's safe, whatever the case is. So, but I think it's just like a tough proposition for anybody when it comes to family,
Yeah, and it's just all about doing your due diligence. Like you said, like some people might have the luxury to, to be able to do the month in an Airbnb, or some people like myself, you got a week.
Yeah.
Right. But just doing your due diligence, because if you're deciding to make that move, it's for the at least the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
You don't want to move somewhere and get surprised.
Yeah. I think the best option that you could do if you're thinking about moving is you wait till your lease ends, and instead of re-signing a new lease, you move everything into storage up in the current place you're in. Then you go do the Airbnb, because everyone can afford that. So whatever you're paying for rent, that's your Airbnb budget for the month.
Yeah.
And now you go live in Airbnbs, and if you happen to find a location like, you know what, we actually want to stay down here, now you can go find a rental while you still have that Airbnb.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then if you're like, hey, we hate this, okay, get on a plane, fly back up, empty your storage, and go get another rental.
Yeah. That's actually really, really great advice. And I know, at least for me, I've had a lot of instances where I'm ready to move, but that lease is hanging over my head. And so, like, thinking about when your lease is, when it's up, what to do when it's up.
Yeah.
A lot of people, when it's up, they don't have something
They're like,
solidified,
I gotta do another
so
one.
I have to do another one. And then you find something, and now you're,
You gotta think about it like dating, right? It's like, if I want to break up with my current girlfriend, I don't have to go get another girlfriend tomorrow. It's like I can go date for a little bit, and then go find the right next girlfriend. So I think a lot of times it's like, and again, I can't even imagine, like, obviously when there's a child in the mix, that's like we can't afford to not have a plan.
True.
Right? But we also
true.
can't afford to not create a plan because it's easier not to.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because that's the comfort zone, and that's where we're all in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying the only way you can ever make a decision in life is you got to take family out of it. Because even when you're in the business world, you're like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm late. I had this family thing. It's like, well, I had a family thing too, and I was on time.
True, exactly.
So it's like you got to take family out of it because
Yeah.
nobody can ever say anything when you pull
It's
the
not
family
gonna be
card.
perfect.
You know?
Especially when your family is not from if your family's from the same spot,
Yeah.
that is what it is.
Yeah.
So, but no, I felt that.
Yeah.
I feel that for sure.
So, but that's always going to be something to grapple with. But, what, like, where do you want to be by the end of this year? The year's still pretty young. I know you got professional, aspirations, obviously, like, daddy duties. So, like, what, I know the priority is the family, but how do you think that you can best position yourself before New Year's to continue to be progressing?
Oh man, so I think right now, man, there's like, I want to say there's like 4 aspects that I'm like trying to
Improve.
I would say that I'm focusing on.
Okay.
And that like I'm focusing a lot of like effort, time, attention, intentionality behind it. And I think like obviously the first one is a dad. The second one is well, I would say first is like personal. Like I understand like the people that are relying on me and what I need to give to them.
Yeah.
And I can't give that if I'm not centered, if I'm not focused, So I think that's the first aspect. The second one is definitely being a dad. I've learned a lot in the last 9 months, and there's so much more that I need to learn.
That's
and
just the first year what you needed to know.
Exactly. And I've leaned into the challenge, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been really hard. But for me, like I enjoy challenges, right? The third is like me being a partner. I think there's a lot that I can continue to improve on just being a partner. I don't think that ever stops.
Give us one thing.
Oh man, I would say active listening.
Okay.
One thing I can get better at is active listening. I listen more often than not. I listen to respond. Instead of listening to understand. And I think that's huge.
Absolutely.
Because when you listen to respond, a lot of times it can be seen as like defensive. It can be seen as like, oh, you have a wall up, you're just trying to justify.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's really important. And then I think lastly is professional.
Yeah.
Obviously, like I said, I'm an assistant principal now. I've had experience with some like fellowships that like push you towards like higher leadership, potentially like a principal. And also looking at like some different certifications. Special education up in New York is like really big.
Okay.
Right. And I want to at some point run my own school, so I have to have some type of knowledge in special education, because there's so many students that are classified special education students up in New York, and I think that's the next step in my professional. I always try and take like 2 years in professional to like do something.
Gotcha.
Whether that's move up, whether that's to get a
cert or whatever,
some certification, and I think that's my next one. So there's a lot of different aspects, man. But I would say at the end of this year, I envision continuing to be in some type of leadership role in education, whether that's another year as an AP principal, whether that's like coming back down to Miami and working back with the organization that I left. That organization has just like near and dear to me. Like that would be the dream, right? To come back and continue to work with them. I would say just continuing to be like the best dad that I can be. I've really enjoyed watching my daughter grow up. And when she starts talking, when she starts moving around, I just want to like be there for those moments, right?
Yeah.
And then lastly, man, I would say the last thing that I would envision by the end of this year is like family is just really important to me. And I had a child with my girlfriend, and like we are a family. I feel like there's a lot of value in like cementing that family. So that would be also something that I would want to happen before the end of this year.
It would be cool. I'm just brainstorming here because you just said that, triggered something. I feel like most people, their first memory is like around 2 years old. So it would be cool on some level to wait till she's 2 so that she can remember that day too. That would be pretty special. But obviously, that's just like a random thought I had. But something I resonated with is when you said active listening. I feel like that's something I'm always working on, because somebody said this and it made so much sense as to why, like, if a situation's not being communicated like properly. I'm like, why was that so much hard?
Yeah.
Like, why was that so hard? You
Yeah.
know? And I realized that like it came down to me because like sometimes I'm so logic based on stuff.
Oh man.
And I'm like, and I realized somebody said you gotta not attack, but you gotta basically treat emotion with emotion or logic with logic. So if you're receiving something and you could tell there's emotion behind it, then this is not the time for me to be logical about it. And I was like, it's so hard for me to like sit back and like be like, when it made so much more sense because I replayed the last couple situations and I'm like, oh yeah, this wasn't the time for me to like.
It wasn't the time.
To like, yeah. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So that's obviously maturing and putting my pride to the side and like it's actively working on like not trying to be right, but. You know, you don't want to be dismissive too, just because you're like, oh yeah, you know, sometimes it's dismissive. You're like, oh yeah, you're right. You know, it's like, well, that wasn't constructive.
No,
you know?
man, that's we right here, man. That resonates a lot with me.
So, but no, I think so. You know, I think all those things that you mentioned is funny because I always talk on this podcast about the 4 buckets. You know, and it's helped me focus in my life in certain ways. And so, whether it's on a computer, on a notepad, I never have more than 4 master folders. And I can have as many subfolders as I want, but my 4 buckets. So, like, if it doesn't fall in the 4 buckets, I'm not doing it, you know? So, like, I have my business, I have the podcast, I have family, and I have hobbies, you know?
Yeah.
So, whether it's hanging out or doing something, if it doesn't fall into the hobbies, going to sports games, live music, whatever, or the podcast, or doing business together, or eating a meal together, or whatever the case is, going to church together, if it doesn't fall in those buckets, then like, it's not meant for, like, my time, you know what I'm saying? And so... And I do that with everything in my life. So it's like, hey, if I have more than 4 master folders on the computer, one needs to become a subfolder. It needs to fall into one or I need to delete it, you know? And so it helps you focus out and it helps you like be able to say no to more things, which I know is easy once you have more obligations to say no. But I wanted to say no purposefully, you know, not to say no because I was lazy. Because it started a few years ago where like if I don't have it on the calendar, I'll say yes to it. But that was a little bit too loose, you know? So now it's like if I don't have anything on the calendar and it fits in these 4 buckets, then I'll say yes to it because I know it's something I wanted to go do, you know?
Yeah, I like that. I also like you saying like you're making it visual.
Yeah.
I think for me at least, visual goals, like I said, visual buckets, things that you want to do and be intentional about. I think that helps a lot.
Yeah.
I like those 4 buckets, man. I might have to take that.
Yeah, do it, man. And well, I was saying that to say that I noticed too, like, and you could talk about it a little bit here, but you know, as you grow your faith, I think those buckets become a lot more purposeful as well.
Yeah.
And so, you know, how you've always been so mission driven when it comes to like the education side and helping kids and stuff like that. Yeah. Do you see that grow now that you have a child, or do you see that you need to reallocate some of that energy, or do you see like, hey, I'm so happy that I was already mission driven in this industry because this was the goal. The goal was to have a family and to have kids and to like show by action and not verbal and like all these cool stuff.
I'd say it's a really good question. Man, I'd say I don't think it's changed. I don't think it's changed. What I do think has changed, and if you were to ask anybody that has seen me like in action, whether a teacher, coach, like AP now, like I like to run a pretty tight like ship, right? Clearly communicate what's expected, and I'm holding you to it. I'm holding you accountable, just because for my 12 years of education, I've always educated Black and brown kids, and I feel like that's what they deserve. They deserve accountability, they deserve honesty and transparency and consistency, right? So I think the biggest change, I would say I'm a little softer, just a little softer.
Is that the daughter over the son's situation, or just
I'm just a little softer. I feel myself getting more soft, and I don't think that's like me taking the foot off the gas with accountability and everything. My approach is just a lot different. And I've seen it benefit me in my work. I was on paternity leave for almost 4 months. So like my transition back in January, it was tough.
Yeah, sure.
Just because I hadn't been there for so long.
Get back into it.
It was really tough, but you know, now that I'm kind of back in the swing of things, I can see me approaching things a little differently. Yeah. And that's not just with the kids, that's with staff.
Sure.
As well, like my staff, like my teachers.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's changed as much, but I definitely think me having especially a daughter.
Yeah.
Me having a daughter, I think I've softened up just a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I know we're jumping around here a little bit, but what's one thing that you would change in the education system if you could?
Ooh.
Is it as simple as by increasing the salaries you get better staff?
Absolutely not. I would not say that. Okay. I do think teachers need to be paid more.
Okay.
Everywhere. I do not believe that paying a teacher more automatically improves their practice.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't go that far. I would definitely say teachers need to pay more. What I would also say needs to change in the education field, I do think that there should be a lot more resources put into developing teachers.
Yeah.
I've seen there's organizations out there, there's programs out there that help teachers in their first year, teaching fellows, all that stuff. That stuff doesn't really do much.
Well, not longevity too. Like we were just talking about, you know what to do for the first year of your daughter, but you don't know what to do when she's 5 yet or 6.
Yeah,
so
man,
it's
it's tough, and I have teachers on my staff that have been in education longer than I have.
Yeah.
And I still I can still tell you what they can improve on, right? Mm-hmm. But because they've been teaching for so long, there's not a lot of dedicated resources to them. And I would say that there needs to be an initiative for any school district, county, organization, whatever, private school, charter school, whatever, invest in the people that you have. There's so many major companies that invest in their people. If you do that, especially because I think teaching is the hardest job ever. Yeah. I've seen firsthand what is being asked up against insurmountable odds, up against different systems that have been created to discriminate against black and brown students. So it's really hard. Teaching is so hard, man. So pay them more and invest more in them.
Gotcha.
That's what I would say needs to happen in education.
Nice. I like it. A lot of people are just hey, pay teachers more, and they don't understand some of the logistics behind it.
It's not that simple.
I think that people would be fine. I think it just stinks because it's kind of like police officers too. It's you need teachers, you need police officers. The one thing that level-headed people say is they both could just use more training or a more clear path forward on how they can improve or be held to a standard of accountability. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
But
and there's so many different systems going on, like you just mentioned with police department. There's so many different districts. There's so many different state rules and all this other stuff. So education goes differently in different cities and different counties and different districts. So it's kind of tough to balance everything out.
Yeah.
But if there's an initiative of investing in your people, man, we see Apple do it, we see Google do it.
For sure. It works.
And it works, man. You just got to have
incentive-based system.
That's it.
Incentives work everywhere. In life and personal, wherever. You know what I'm
saying? That's all you need, man. Get these people better. There's a lot of growth area in a lot of teachers. And a lot of people want to get better. So you pay them more and you invest in them, they'll stay.
Yeah. Is it prevalent or common for teachers to have a second income up there or a side job? And what is that typical side job?
Well, I think that goes back to the factors in your living arrangements and stuff.
What are my cost of living? What do I have to do?
I mean, here's the thing. Like I said, it works differently in everywhere. So out of all the states in the United States, New York is actually the top for pay, right? The highest pay. And that's obviously because cost of living, right? But for instance, there's some teachers at my school, and we're a charter school. We're not a district school. There's some people at my school that make over $100,000 as a teacher, right? And that's based off of the compensation package that we have with our organization. So that sounds great.
Right.
But making $100K as a teacher.
Take home 60 maybe after taxes.
Exactly. So your factors matter. I think that's something that not a lot of people, talk about. But yeah, the pay just works different. The pay just works different. I forgot what your initial question was. But
well, is it prevalent for teachers to have a side job or a second income, or is it just not feasible with the time it takes to even be a good teacher?
And that's the thing. It's not all that feasible.
Yeah, especially with the transportation and how am I going to get there on time.
It's not all that feasible. To give you kind of a glimpse of my day,
yeah,
I'm out of the house by 6:30, back in the house by 6.
Okay, that's a 12-hour day.
I work, the school day is 8 to 4. But the amount of time it takes, it's real.
Yeah.
And by the time you're home, you're cut out. Yeah. So I would say if I've seen a teacher have a second income, it has more to do. It's more to do with inside the school. So you might be a coach.
Gotcha.
You might like do some type of like
more feasible
extracurricular
to make it on time and
exactly.
stuff, yeah.
And if they have something outside of that, I guarantee you, it's just because a hobby.
Yeah.
Like for me, I ref basketball games.
Yeah.
That's my hobby. I love reffing.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not doing it because I need it.
Yeah.
But I'm doing it
make a little money because you enjoy doing it.
I enjoy it. Make a little money.
Yeah.
If most of the teachers that I've seen that have some type of second, it's because of that. Or they'll do something like over the summer or something like that.
Makes
but
sense.
not necessarily because they need it. They pay teachers pretty well in New York.
That's good. I mean, that's good. So I ask everyone this question to end it. You know, I know you said throughout this year, if you could end this year and be a better listener, it's a positive, good habit to add to the toolbox. Yeah. But what's a piece of advice that you wish you had this time last year?
Right. I think one thing that over the past year I've noticed is that like I couldn't be where I am now without my family.
Yeah.
I would not be able to be like who I am without my family. And when I moved to New York 3 years ago, I felt very alienated.
Sure.
Even from my friends, I've had conversations with my friends. They were like, "Yo, you up and left?
Yeah.
Like, what's up?
Yeah.
And you can obviously text, you can obviously call, but there's anytime I'm coming down here, I tell you 2-3 months in advance, like, yo, get ready, you know. And I think last year around this time, I felt like I had to do everything with a new baby coming. Like first time dad, I want to support, I want to be a dad. I got to do everything. Like I don't have time to pick up the phone to talk to my dad. I don't have time to pick up the phone to plan a trip or whatever. And I think going into this year, it's very different. That's why I'm down here now, right? To see dad. And I think that's the one piece of advice I wish I had last year.
Yeah.
Lean into my circle, lean into my village, and like intentionally make plans to connect. Yeah. Whether it's FaceTime, whether it's text, whether it's call, whether it's like I'm gonna call my sister this time every day. Yeah. Like I need I need to do those things more so that I don't feel so alienated.
No, it makes a lot of sense. And I saw something like similar reel, and basically the guy was like, if you only, let's say in your same example, you only see your parents on Thanksgiving and Christmas, you see them twice a year, and if he has 30 years left, let's just say on the high end, you got 60 more times.
Yeah, I think that was the video I'm talking about.
Okay, yeah, and then it dwindles down, you're like, man, I got 60 more times. You know, that's 2 months. You know, when you start breaking it down like that. So I think that's super powerful, and I think too, I don't think there's any like shame in scheduling things that seem minute, and it seems like, oh, am I a bad person for scheduling this phone call with dad on second Thursday? But it's like, no, that means it's going to happen.
It's intentional.
And it's intentional. So I think those things could be good, but no, that's super powerful. And dude, I'm proud of you, been proud of you. I love you, dude.
My God.
Thank you for taking time to see me when you come down. Cause I know when you're traveling back home, even if you're going from the East Coast to back to Tampa, finding time, like time goes so much quicker when you're not, when you're in town for a short period of time. So it's never lost on me, bro. I appreciate it. And every year you've done something big. I feel like
that's you, bro.
No, that's you. That's everyone that's in our circle, man. And I don't know. I just, if nobody gives you your flowers, I'm here to give it to you, bro. Man, and I'm just excited for what's to come. And I know this is just the beginning, bro. So once again, thanks for coming on. Please leave us a comment, ask a question, subscribe if you haven't, and until next time, thanks.